We were getting this presentation together. Jeff Zeziger, who spoke during breakfast and is our president and CEO, and I were talking about what we should title this. And we thought, first, the value of a financial advisor. Next, why you need a financial advisor. And finally, we decided on, does hiring a financial advisor make sense for you? So that's what we're going to focus on today. We do need to make sure our attorneys are happy, so there are our disclosures. So we've found that it's best to begin planning for retirement with the end in mind. Jeff Zeziger this morning talked about some basics on how much you should save, that sort of thing, but think back to when you decided you were going into medicine. You know you would have to do your undergraduate, maybe pre-med or biology, and then go to med school, then do your residency. If you're maternal fetal medicine, you did a fellowship, like we just heard from these two physicians, and you had a plan in mind. So we've found that beginning with an end in mind is best. Fidelity Investments, one of the largest financial institutions, has some guidelines to suggest how much you should have saved by the time you're certain ages for retirement, and I think it's eye-opening. They say by age 30 you should have 1 time your salary, by age 40 3 times, by age 50 6 times, by age 60 8 times your salary, and 67 10 times your salary. So think for a minute, what is my salary? And do I have that much? So Jeff had talked about the studies that he had this morning were based on how much you spend. And I think a lot of physicians wonder, how much do I spend? But you do know your salary. And the thing I like about this is as your salary goes up, then your need for more money goes up. So take a look at that. So already you're starting behind because a lot of you weren't even working that much by the time you were 30. So physicians start later, usually in more debt, and have higher, but they do have higher incomes than non-physicians. Another thing to take into account is we are looking forward 30 or more years when we're looking at retirement, and we're using past results to forecast the future. So there are some assumptions that are being made. As time goes on, you're able to replace those assumptions with facts. So in meeting with a client one time, he mentioned something and that a physician that was his mentor had mentioned to him. He says, you will not get wealthy from the money you make as a physician. You will get wealthy from what you do with what you do with the money you make as a physician. So we've actually found that most physicians need to save 20% of their salary, their annual gross earnings, including any match that you get from your employer once they start to practice. Another thing is that you are out of debt by the time you retire. Jeff had shared this slide also. So there are things that matter, things that you can control, and what you should focus on. And we as advisors help you focus on the important things. Jeff shared a study from Vanguard, which is interesting that they don't work with advisors, but they did a study on the value of an advisor. And he mentioned that they've done this about 12 years in a row, and they find that an advisor adds on average 3% after fees. Russell Investments is one of the largest managers of pension funds and of 401ks, that sort of thing. And they actually do a study also, and they break it down into 4 things. They say that the value of an advisor, active rebalancing and active allocation adds about 0.1%. Behavior coaching adds almost 3%. Jeff talked about how we sometimes invest by emotion, and that's one thing as an advisor that we help you do is see the long term and not invest based on emotion. You know, the trick is to buy low and sell high, and it seems that if you're following emotion, you're almost doing the opposite of buying high and selling low. So behavioral coaching is a lot of what we do. About another 1% is added by a customized experience and family wealth planning. So we personalize your plan to you. Another 1% comes from tax smart planning and investing. So there are different things you can do. In fact, I was reading an article yesterday after we submitted our slides to Teresa for today, And it talked about investment planning in it. And this study was from Northwestern Mutual, and it said only 30% of Americans who are planning for retirement have a plan to minimize taxes. So there's different things you can do, a Roth IRA or a backdoor Roth IRA, so that you have money that will be tax-free in retirement. If you have a taxable account, if it's a down year like 2022, when stocks were down 18% and bonds were down 13%, which, by the way, the last time both stocks and bonds were down 10% was in 1931. And there's only been 4 other years where stocks were down 10%, the bonds were even negative. So in those types of years, in a taxable account, you can do tax loss selling. You can also, if you're charitably inclined and taking required minimum distributions, once you turn 70 and a half, you can take up to 100,000 of a deduction that would count towards your required minimum distribution, give it to charity, and not be taxed on that. So there's different things you can do. So Russell, in their study that they just released last week, said the value of an advisor can be up to 5%. And again, this is after fees. So where should your focus be as a physician and saving for retirement? First is to start with a plan that incorporates your needs and risk tolerances. We have an advisor that when we meet with clients, we have them fill out an information sheet first, and he calls it getting financially naked in front of us. And I kind of refer to that as our equivalent of giving you a gown that ties in the back. But we need to know where you stand and what you're doing so that we can help you. Next is constructing a diversified portfolio that complements the plan that you have for retirement. So 2 of the most important things is how much you are saving and how you are investing it. Next is control your expenses. Minimize taxes, I talked about a little already, and then monitor over time. This is very important. We have actually developed 3 phases of financial and retirement planning. I know you can't read this, we have some handouts, but we've broken it into 3 different categories. Accumulation, which is your main earning years. Preservation, which says you're getting closer to retirement and in retirement. And then distribution, which is near at the end of retirement and the end of life. So accumulation is interesting, and this is the one that can almost be a checklist. You need to have some cash reserves in case you are disabled. You need to make sure you're protecting your income, your assets, your liabilities. That's done through that necessary evil called insurance. You need to have life insurance. You need to have disability insurance. You need to have malpractice insurance. You need to have TEL insurance. So these are some of the things that you need. You need to have an investment strategy. We always suggest you work with a team of a certified financial planner, a CPA, and an attorney. A CPA can help with taxes, the attorney with your will, your trust, and your advanced healthcare directives, and then working with a certified financial planner. Jeff mentioned that we have 5 advisors. Now it's interesting, all 5 of our advisors have what's called a certified financial planner designation that we're actually really proud of. We manage $1.4 billion and are the 4th largest registered investment advisor in Utah. Any other firm our size that had 5 investors probably would only have 2 certified financial planners. To get a certified financial planner designation, it's a national designation. As of last year, only 29% of financial advisors had gone through the steps to be a certified financial planner. Jeff mentioned all 5 of our advisors. 4 of us have graduate degrees also. And we think it's important that you know that a certified financial planner or an advisor you're going to knows what they're doing. So as a certified financial planner, we have obtained an undergrad degree. We have then studied usually about a year and a half or 2 years to take a national test. It's only given 3 times a year. You get 3 times in your life to take it. 3 strikes, you're out. Like in baseball, you can never be a certified financial planner. Then you have to get 3 years of training with a certified financial planner. Kind of think of it as a financial residency, so to speak. Then you can start, as they call, using the marks. After that, that doesn't end. We have to earn 30 hours of continuing education credits every 2 years, similar to how you're getting your CMEs here today. And so contrast that with maybe someone who decides they want to be an insurance agent, and they go and study for about 2 months for a test, take a test. In Utah, to be an insurance agent, you need to be 18 years old, have a GED or a high school equivalent, have a social security number, and pass this test. You could then make up a business card that says you're a financial advisor or even a financial planner. There's nothing against the law. So kind of interesting to think about it. It reminds me, my wife is a ultrasound technician for Intermountain. So she works 3 days a week. So when she's getting dressed, she puts on her gray scrubs. That's how everyone knows that she's an ultrasound tech. She has gray scrubs. A family friend of ours has a daughter that's a certified nurse assistant, a CNA, and she wears light gray. But then when you go to the hospital at Intermountain, you know who the physicians are based on their green scrubs. So it would be interesting if in the financial industry, you got to wear a certain color tie or a certain suit so that you could look at us and say, they're equivalent of a CNA or they're equivalent of a physician when it comes to finances. So unfortunately, we don't do that, but if you are working with a financial planner, we suggest you work with a certified financial planner. And the thing that's interesting is, our clients tell us most of the value that we add is in the preservation and distribution phase. Once we have them saving and investing correctly, those are done until it's time to get ready for retirement, and that's where we seem to add the value according to our clients. So on this handout that we have available, we have the Physician's Guide to Financial Security. It starts in residency, early years of practice, mid-years, late years, nearing and in retirement. Just last week, I was up at the University of Utah with 15 ophthalmology residents, and we were talking about things that they should do, kind of those check mark type things. So take a look at that. So let me give you an example of what we do with our clients as far as beginning with the end in mind to personalize their financial plan. So I know you can't see this, but I'm going to describe this a little. So we have Dr. Abby Normal and her husband Ian, and together they make $410,000. Now when we meet with them, again, we're getting their information, their age, their marital status, their tax situation, how much they spend, these sorts of things. From there, we're able to then further personalize their financial plan and find out what are your expectations in retirement and what are your concerns. So some of those expectations could be not working, having an active lifestyle, traveling. Some of those concerns could be, I'm not getting a paycheck anymore, I'm spending too much, those sorts of things. So we then gather their personal expectations and concerns so that we can personalize their financial plan. Another thing you have to think about is, how long am I going to live in retirement? Again, I came across these statistics actually this morning. So if you're a 65-year-old woman, you have a 40% chance of living to age 90. If you're a 65-year-old man, you have a 30% chance of living to age 90. The average 65-year-old female retiree will live to age 87, so 22 years after retirement if they retire at 65. The average 65-year-old male will retire or will live to be 84, so 19 years after retirement. So interesting to see, and these are from TIAA, CREF, who manages money. So one of the things is, how long am I going to live in retirement? Again, we're kind of guessing here. We look at how long your parents lived, how long your grandparents lived, that sort of thing, and making sure, because the thing you want to know is am I going to run out of money? Another thing we talk about is, what are your needs? We assume part of your needs is you want to eat, you want to have a car, you want to be able to have shelter over your head. So a couple of the needs that you fall into are your regular spending and then health care. Next is wants. Maybe you want to travel every year for 10 years, or maybe you want to buy a new car every 7 years, that sort of thing. Or what are your wishes? Well, we would like to add a deck, or we'd like to update our home, those sorts of things. We also look at everything that's available to you. So we look at your expected Social Security benefits, assuming that it's still around, or they could be reduced, but we're able to look at your past earning history. You can log on to ssa.gov and get an idea of how much your Social Security benefits may be at different ages, so we include that also. We then look at your current assets and your annual additions. So in this case, both Abby and Ian have 401ks. Abby is putting into a 457, and they both have backdoor Roth IRAs. They've saved $275,000. They're aged 40 and 42. And then they're following advice with the matches they're getting and what they're putting in, and with their backdoor Roth, they're putting away 20%. If you remember, they were making $410,000, so they're putting away $82,000 per year. We then come to the magic question: can I expect to fund all of my goals, and even more important, without running out of money? So this is where the rubber hits the road. We're able to run 1,000 different scenarios through the sophisticated software to see what the different outcomes of your plan may be, and you get a score. In this example, 89%. This isn't medical school grading, where 89% would be a B+ or an A-. Well, I guess an A- would be more, but we shoot for between 75 and 90, and talk about that. But that's not where we finish. We just say, okay, you look good for now. We also then go and stress test this plan. And we say, what could go wrong? What if this happens? What if this happens? And so we're able to vet these things out so that when it comes for time for retirement, it is simple and it is smooth. Again, we continue to look at things like, how can I optimize all of my opportunities? And we have a kind of a what-if tool. What if you had a little bit of burnout, you want to retire at 62 instead of 65? We can adjust the plan. What if you decide you love it so much you want to go a couple more years? We can take a look at that. Or maybe you want to go part-time or go PRN, those sorts of things. So we look at those different things so we can make it specific to you. So this is what we do with our clients, is we make sure that we are helping them along the way through this accumulation, and then through the preservation and the distribution phases. So our physicians, again, our physician clients tell us that they feel we add the value in these later steps. So here's the magic question: how do I compare with others? We get this a lot. I've got some more statistics for you on how to consider if you're super wealthy, well off, or middle class. This is really interesting. This is from a survey that was done. Things are lagging, but this just came out last week, but it was from the 2019 Summary of Consumer Finances. And it did it by top 1%. So if you want to be considered super wealthy, that's in the 99th percentile or the top 1%, your net worth would be $16.7 million. If you wanted to be what's considered wealthy, that's the top 5%, your net worth would be $3.2 million. If you want to be considered well off, that's in the top 10%, your net worth would be $1.9 million. Interesting that middle class, which is 50th percentile, so average, the net worth is $281,000. So interesting to look at and say, where am I? But we tend to want to compare ourselves with others. So we do have a tool called Elements that we use, and it breaks things down. You put your information in, it tells you things like how much you're saving, how much your burn rate is, how much your taxes are, what your debt ratio is. And we've actually created a QR code that you can pull out your cameras now and take a picture of this QR code. This gives you access to this Elements program. If it's not working on your phone because it's too big or something, we have this at our booth. We're right outside the first booth out here, and you can come by and we have this QR code. And what that will do is give you some statistics, and then you can meet with us for a free consultation and see where you are, find out how that compares to where you want to be. So we appreciate you being able to be here today to get your CMEs. Again, enjoy your lunch, and we look forward to talking with you. Thank you very much.
All right, I hope everybody is enjoying their lunch.